Alright guys, I know I'm probably a little overdue for this type of video, seeing as Xenoverse 2 is pretty much a couple weeks old now, but I only just recently finished leveling at least one character of each race, so I only just recently got all of the transformations ready to go. But I thought I'd go ahead and put together a little list of my top 8, or in this case top 9 technically, transformations in Xenoverse 2. Now this is all ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite, and this by no means determines which one's stronger or not. These are just my personal favorites. By the way, once I'm done with the list, I have something that I got to talk to you guys about because it may affect the future of this channel, and it's a damn shame. But anyway, let's go ahead and get on with it. So obviously, my least favorite, honestly, was a tie between two different transformations. Now it would have been guaranteed to be Purification, but then I started to play around with it, and it actually has a lot more to it than meets the eye. But yeah, Purification is my least favorite, but honestly, there are some little things to it that actually make it very entertaining to use. So first, let's just go ahead and talk about its pros and cons. Let's start off with the pros just to see if I can get some positivity for this transformation, because it does have some good stuff. Some pros it has is that it has some unique abilities that you're not going to find with other transformations. One of which, you have a new Ki Blast style. Instead of actually shooting a Ki Blast, instead you do a sort of long-ranged kick maneuver. And that's pretty cool, but it doesn't deal a hell of a lot of damage. Your block animation is completely changed. Instead of blocking, you instead sort of morph your way around whatever's attacking you. And you can block certain supers that way as well. Boost dashing has the novelty of knocking your opponent away if you ram into them. Kid Boo's combos themselves are really good. His moveset is alright, although a lot of them are pretty inconsistent in terms of hit registration. Dashing away can be used a lot more effectively than when you're a normal character. And also, there's a neat little thing. I didn't know this at first, but when you press Y and you're far enough away from your opponent, you'll do a burst dash, sort of like if you pressed X and A, but it'll cost no stamina. So you have many options of offense and defense when you're in your Purification form. But now let's go ahead and get to the biggest drawbacks of Purification. Obviously, it's pretty damn lazy to just turn into Kid Buu. It would have been better if you kept your clothing or your moveset. And also, we have the biggest thing that people complain about, which is the stamina drain for Purification. I would be okay with the stamina drain if snap vanishes when you're getting hit only take one stamina bar, but they don't. This transformation banks on you not getting hit, essentially. It's just a horrible design decision, and I think that needs to be adjusted. Now, the thing that tied with Purification is Power Pole Pro. I'm gonna call it Flying Nimbus just to make sure I don't tongue twister myself. Now, the Nimbus itself is alright, it's pretty damn cool, but my problem with it is it's not very fun to use. It's awesome that it costs no key and you can just call it in whenever you want, but my biggest issue with it is just the lack of anything to it, to be honest. There's only two main combos that you can pull off, like, for example, you can tap X repeatedly to do a little barrage attack with the power pole, and at the very end of it, you extend it, sort of like if you pressed B. And you also have the Y combo, which is the main one that you'll normally be using when you're attacking an opponent. You also have 3 other tricks for defense, which is you can fly and block at the same time, and it'll launch your opponent away. You can press back and Y to do a little spin maneuver with your power pole to stop people from hitting you from behind. And you can also press forward and Y to do a little sweep attack to knock someone back. But that's essentially it. You can't mix up X and Y for different combos or anything like that. It's just those 2 combos and that's it. And in my honest opinion, that's boring as hell. The next transformation I have on the list, and this might trigger some people, but I'll explain exactly why I put it so far down on the list in a second, is Golden Form. Now, the form itself is alright. It looks cool, it gives you a nice boost in Ki Blast damage, it makes you faster, and it changes your Ki Blast to something really cool. But my biggest issue with it, and I'm certain that this is a bug, is that you often stop to do that Frieza pose after certain animations. I don't know why that happens, but it always leaves me wide open, and when I'm in the middle of a combo, it's really annoying. Up next on the list, we have Kaioken. Now, this works similarly to how it worked in Xenoverse 1, but it's a little different in several areas. For one thing, you have all 3 Kaioken transformations, or power-ups, or whatever you want to call it, in one, sort of like Super Saiyan has. So you can go from Kaioken to Kaioken times 3 to Kaioken times 20 in one game. And Kaioken times 20 essentially works the same way it did in Xenoverse 1 with a little tweak. So yes, you still have your infinite use of your stamina when you're snap vanishing, when you're burst dashing, but you can't spam escape maneuvers like you could in Xenoverse 1. So no more doing that angry shout bullshit. But this is a really effective move for melee-based characters, because this is also, and I did the math on this is also just as strong as Potential Unleashed. Next up on the list is Giant Form. Now, again, this by no means determines the fact that giant form is somehow weaker than the rest of the transformations I have here, but it suffers from the same thing that the power pole suffers for me. And it's just the fact that it's not very fun to use. Yes, the damage output is insane on the giant form. In fact, I like to take my giant form out on parallel quests when I want to go grinding for moves. But you essentially just have one combo. That's it. It's pretty much just mashing X 3 times and then pressing Y to swipe them away, charging at them, and doing it again. And just the fact that you can be pulled out of your giant form with a single ultimate is pretty lame on its own. Now, Dimps, I feel, nerfed giant form in the wrong way. I personally didn't mind the fact that it took them a little bit to actually run out of their giant form, but people's biggest concern with it was the fact that people can spam giant form. They don't lose their ki when they're pulled out of giant form, so when they get their stamina back, they can just go right back into it. What I think should have happened is they should have just kept the stamina drain the way it was, but made it so that when you're pulled out of your giant form, you lose all of your ki along with it, and you can't regenerate ki for another few seconds. So that way people actually have to work to get their giant form instead of just being able to spam it as soon as they have the 3 ki bars. Next up on the list, I have Future Super Saiyan. Now this one is pretty much a poor man's potential unleashed if you're a Saiyan, but essentially what it is, it's sort of stronger than Super Saiyan 1 and Super Vegeta 1, but it has faster ki regeneration than the both of them. It looks like Future Super Saiyan generates ki almost as fast as your base form, not there, but just a little bit less. So, if you don't have potential unleashed and you're a Saiyan who doesn't want your ki to just not regenerate, Future Super Saiyan is a pretty good one, but I just love the animation to this. Next up on the list is Potential Unleashed. This transformation is quite literally just a powered up version of your base form. Your ki regeneration is exactly the same as your base form, only this time you pretty much have the power of a little bit less of a Super Saiyan 3 and a Super Vegeta 2. It's those both combined to one, made a little bit weaker, but you keep the same ki regeneration. If you're not a Saiyan and you want maximum damage, Potential Unleashed is the one for you. You could also use Kaioken times 20 if you want the novelty of being able to use your stamina infinitely minus escape moves, but in all honesty, if you have the 5 ki bars, Potential Unleashed is the way to go. Now I was going to put these two in a single slot together just because I can't decide between the two, but after a little bit more thought, I thought I may as well go ahead and split them into two. So next up on the list, I have Super Saiyan itself. I personally like playing as ki blasting characters, so obviously Super Saiyan is not the one that I want to go for because it boosts melee attacks, not ki blasts. But the wild hair of Super Saiyan 3 is badass enough. You get the pose as a Super Saiyan 3, but its biggest drawback obviously is the fact that you don't regenerate ki as fast. As a Super Saiyan 3, you generate almost no ki when you're dealing damage. But my favorite transformation in Xenoverse 2 of all time so far, without any DLC or anything like that, is obviously Super Vegeta. I like playing as Saiyans, and I like playing as ki blasters, so obviously I would pick Super Vegeta as my favorite. But let's stop talking about its functionality for just a quick second. Let's talk about the actual animation of the transformation. I was rather disappointed with the regular Super Saiyan transformation animation. It looked kind of stupid in my honest opinion, so I was understandably disappointed that Potential Unleashed had the cool one. But luckily Super Vegeta had a really cool animation to go with it, but I think obviously we all know Future Super Saiyan has the best animation for transforming. Anyway guys, that is my list of my favorite transformations so far in Xenoverse 2 without any DLC or anything because we don't know if we're going to be getting any more transformations, but it's now time to talk about what I was saying in the beginning of the video. Guys, I don't know how much longer I can stick with Xenoverse 2, if I'm perfectly honest. In the time it took to get this gameplay, I was fucking furious with this game. I don't know what happened, but there was a massive spike in difficulty. I don't know why it happened. It's just incredibly difficult to play right now. While I was getting the gameplay, I was getting more and more furious to the point of me actually getting to that point when I was ranting about the AI, where I was actually sweating in real life. It was that bad. My mental health is pretty much going down the drain by playing this fucking game. I don't know if I can stick with it, but I'm gonna keep trying to push through it and see if I can continue doing this because god damn it, I want this to work. I want to make videos for this game, I want to like this game, I want to have fun doing this. If it's really going to drive me to this type of complete madness, I don't know if I can. We'll see how things go. That's all I got for today. I'll see you in the next video.